We're watching you, FAA. You received 51,000 comments to your flawed notice of proposed rulemaking. What about the hobbyists? What about the kids in the future? You totally left them out. And hopefully you'll take a look at some of the letters that you received, the comments, and implement them. We're watching to make sure that you provide fairness and not favor the high dollar interests in this.
Hi, long overdue update from my channel. I've been super busy. One of the things that happened was the FAA came out with a draconian notice of proposed rulemaking, and I am a commercial drone pilot, but I'm also been a hobbyist for my lifetime, also the time with my son when he was growing up, and then my father and I enjoyed RC hobbies, and sometimes in a AMA setting, but most of the time just flying in a park flyer setting. And one of the things that really was of concern to me was there was no provision for park flyers. So I thought I would show some of the projects that I've resurrected while we still have freedom in case the FAA is successful with this rulemaking proposal. The first off is over here. You can see the box for a yellow bee that you buy at Harbor Freight, and most of these I bought for $39. So, and then I had a discount coupon on that. So, in fact, there was the price, $39.99, and then you get 20% off on that. It becomes a very inexpensive RC, particularly to share with young flyers. Now, the way they come out of the box, they don't fly particularly well. One of the big mods that I did to mine were to take this cub wing, this is a Hobby Zone cub wing, and modify them to use on the yellow bee, giving it quite a bit of a better airfoil and a lot more wing area. Unfortunately, these can be crashed. So this is one that a young man was flying, namely me, a number of years ago, and I was just getting back to gluing it together. So that's something I'm resurrecting since we're social distancing inside. I have this one that I was going to fly with the improved wing, and then I have another one I'll cut into the footage here to show you in a minute. Going back to some of the projects my son and I had, if you notice this old-time sailplane, what we would do is we would take one of these sailplanes, and they were easily modified. This was a Nimbus. It was foamed with fiberglass and balsa reinforcing. It's made out of tough foam. But they were an ideal candidate for adding just basic servos to it for rudder and elevator control. And so with a 2-channel radio, you had a very easy to build glider to fly. This was before ARF was popular, so this goes back to my son's time. And then my dad and I, going back to a long time ago, used to do the scratch-built Cubs. And this is one that my dad gave me. This is a 1985 Carl Goldberg balsa wood kit that, unfortunately, in 1985, my flying career, I was a just newly hired airline pilot. I never had a chance to get it out and build it. And then by the time I got back into the hobby a few years later with my son, we were already building with the foam type sailplanes and things like that. But most of our flying has been a generational thing. My father and I, when I was a young man, in the early days of RC, and money was tight, so we didn't belong to the Convair RC Club. We could have, but it was much more affordable to fly at a rural area just by ourselves. And so that's been kind of a mode of operation that we've wanted to maintain. My son and I always had some kind of foam glider to either soar or throw around together. And this is a yellow bee that's going to have the wing modified on. Like I said, you can see the wing in the background. I also have one that has the original factory wing, but it just doesn't have enough wing area and it's too heavy. So these can fly really well if you're patient and work out the center of gravity and everything like that. So moving back a little bit, one more view of a couple generations, the old Nimbus sailplane with the ability to have a compartment where you could run servos and some controls back to the tail. This Carl Goldberg anniversary edition Cub, but I'm afraid that this is all just going to come to an end with this FAA notice of proposed rulemaking, and I'll really be frustrated if they come out with a tyrannical, or in the United States we call it tyranny, where a government agency dictates something that just doesn't make sense for the masses. And the masses fly park flyers like this. Again, I bet they've sold far more Yellowbees at Harbor Freight than any other type of RC airplane out there. And this is the part of the hobby that will disappear. So I want to thank Bruce Simpson and XJet, his YouTube channel, and especially Mike Patey. What I've been doing is trying to influence over the last few months the influencers. And I'm going to provide a link to Mike Patey. He really stepped up to the plate in promoting getting letters out for this notice of proposed rulemaking to the FAA. And I've been busy, not with this, but doing the letters to the senators and congressmen. Unfortunately, a lot of that, I'm afraid, is being drowned out by the coronavirus, which, obviously is a higher concern. But I don't want a tyrannical bit of law to pass through that doesn't take hobbyists or kids into consideration the way that it was just set up for big money. And I am a commercial drone operator. In fact, I just got my Mavic airbag from DJI, and I'm looking forward to getting it back in the air. I had a logic board failure. It didn't result in a flyaway, but every flight I was having to calibrate the compass. And so I'm a commercial 107 drone pilot. I'm also, I hold an ATP, and I'm a retired American Airlines pilot. So I have an extensive amount of aviation background. But to lose this aspect that goes back to my childhood, my son's childhood, and the park flyers that I've shared with other kids and teenagers in the neighborhood when they were growing up, that just is something that we don't want to lose.